Hello there everybody, how's it going? It's Jessie from Jessie Marie Does Stuff, and I am coming to you on this Friday, March 1st, 2024 with my next update video. So welcome everybody. Welcome to both my returning viewers as well as anybody who is perhaps new around here, checking out my channel for the first time. Thank you all so much for spending part of your day or your weekend or what have you with me. I super appreciate it. With FlossTube being as slightly overwhelming as it is, you picking me is that feels pretty good. So on this channel I talk mostly about cross stitch. Sometimes I talk about books and knitting. Today I am going to talk a very little bit about books. We're going to talk about my TBR for the month of March, and maybe like a real quick recap of the books I read in February. We're not going to talk about knitting today. However, Curious Handmaid, Helen Stewart, released the sort of beginning information about her upcoming shawl mystery knit along that begins at the end of March. And she hasn't done one in a couple of years, and I love her mystery shawls. So there might be some knitting in the not so distant future because I am starting to have a look at my stash to see what kind of yarns I might have to do that, because like I said, I love doing her shawls, and yeah, I feel the desire to get back into some regular knitting, but none of that today. No more of that today. We just have all of the projects I've worked on for the last couple of weeks and my plans for the month of March, and we also have my stats for February, since yesterday was Leap Day. Yesterday was the last day of February, so we've got some fun statistics to talk about. Once again, it's another banner month. So before I dive in though, I would like to address a couple of things. The first is I haven't responded to any of the comments on my last video. I have read them all, but I haven't even so much as given them the heart to signify to you that I have read it. But I have read them all. I just haven't taken the time to respond just yet. It's been a busy couple of weeks, and that might be evident once I get to showing you some things. So that is a task high up on my to-do list for the coming days, is to get in the comments and reply to you all. Speaking of the comments on my last video, I posed the question, what are you reading? Just to get the conversations going. And so thank you all so much for telling me what you were reading. My TBR grows exponentially. Wow, there is just not enough life to read all of the books. There is not enough time to be reading all day long, 24/7. But yeah, nonetheless, there are some things in there that y'all were talking about that I'm really interested in picking up in the not so distant future. And several of you were reading the same thing as I am, or the same genre. So that was kind of fun. So thank you for that. And another huge thank you that I have to send out is to Renee. Renee bought me a coffee through my Buy Me a Coffee link that is in the description box of every video. Renee, thank you so much. That meant the world to me, and your note especially. I love reading the notes. That gives me an extra little buzz. So thank you for that. I am trying to figure out what to take to the framer, because as I have mentioned in the past, anybody who feels the need to, who feels the desire, the need, the what have you, to support the channel in such a way, I'm taking those monies and attributing them to fully finishing services and framing and whatnot. So I have a big backlog of things that are not framed, and so I've got to make a decision here and get something to the framer. So perhaps in the coming days or weeks, I'm going to do that. So again, Renee, thank you so much, and thank you to anybody who feels who wants to support the channel in that way. Okay, so let's get into some works in progress, because it's been a couple of weeks since my last update video. So, full disclosure, some of this is going to sound very familiar when I say it, because I filmed last weekend. I filmed last Sunday, and it took a lot to get it uploaded, and like that's not normally something that I have to contend with. My uploads don't seem to be super problematic, but last Sunday it was difficult. I don't know if YouTube was having some things or my internet was having some things, but anyway, I finally got it uploaded late on Sunday, and then just some behind the scenes info for you. I tend to watch the video in its entirety once it's uploaded, just to make sure that nothing failed or that I didn't actually delete a clip that I was meant to, etc., etc. Make sure that my formatting is how I want it to be. Sometimes I miss things, but anyway. And so I did that late Sunday night. I thought I hit publish. I thought that I pressed the button to make it available for you all, but apparently I didn't, and I didn't realize it until Wednesday night. Like I said, this week it's been pretty busy. It's been a full week, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. So it just didn't even occur to me to think about it. But Wednesday night I was like, gosh, I don't think anybody's commented on my video that I uploaded on Sunday. What happened? And I go look, and I'm like, oh, it's still sitting there in published but unlisted. Yeah. So some of this is going to taste a little familiar as I say it. Forgive me if I stumble, because I'll be a little bit confused. It's been about a week, and enough has changed that publishing that video didn't seem worthwhile. But I still want to show you the things that I showed you in that video. So let's get into it. So when last we spoke, I was working on a project that lives in this project bag. This is by Jasmine's Custom Bags. I'm turning the tag because this is her old label, and it's no longer fitting. But anyway, so this is by Jasmine's Custom Bags. I love this bag. This is one of my first Jasmine bags, I think, if not my first. I think it's super adorable. And in here lives my Avarice. Avarice is by Heaven and Earth Designs. The artist is Marta Dalig. I have cropped off the bottom 2 rows of pages. The bottom row for sure I'm cropping. The second to bottom row I am reserving judgment for if I actually want to crop that off. When I originally did the crop, the intent was to bring her further into focus and to reduce the amount of dress that I think was detracting from being able to really see her. But I may feel the need to stitch more of the dress, so we'll just kind of cross that bridge when we get there. I have enough fabric here to stitch the whole thing and then some, so I'm not worried about that. But the plan currently is the 2 bottom rows are cropped. So let me set the project bag down before it falls out of my lap. And so this is on a 25 count Easy Grid Lugana from Zweigart, and I was working on this for full coverage whip go. So this came up for full coverage whip go in February for both spaces. Was it 3 and 24, I think? Both of them were for Avarice. On my full coverage whip go board, most of the spaces are half page, and then the second time the project shows up, it would be the page finish. So yeah, I got the whole thing in the month of February. And when I spoke to you all, I was talking about the fact that the following Monday I was going to get my first goal, and then I was going to reassess if I felt like continuing on or if I wanted to perhaps take a break, just work on something else before I come back to this, because I was looking at a what I estimated to be an 11 to 12 day rotation in order to get this accomplished. And I like a longer rotation, but that's a lot. That's a lot for one project. And I think I mentioned that the color palette is not my absolute favorite. So that was a really long rotation. And so I get to Monday and I achieved the first whip go goal. And I was basically just beginning. I was so into this project. I was so feeling this project that I just kept going and got the page finished. So I now have page 2 finished. And, oh, I love it. Okay, so I'm going to fold up this gargantuan fabric. And I'm going to fold in some of this on this side too. So yeah, oh, I love it. The good news is, even though the coverage on camera doesn't look like super spectacular in the background, nobody's really paying attention to that part anymore because the diamonds look so cool. They look so cool. Y'all, I was feeling this. I was really, really thoroughly enjoying this. I very nearly just got going on page 3 immediately after. Like, I was really, really feeling this, which is nice because I started this piece on my first wedding anniversary in 2017. And so now here we are 7 years later, and I just have the second page done. Yeah. So it was really nice to be obsessed with this piece for the first time. For the first time, I was obsessed with it. And I had a difficult time putting it down. I really, really did. But it was a long rotation, and the confetti in here, wow. I mean, just wild. The confetti in there. I haven't encountered confetti like that in some time. And I had fun with it, but it still took a lot of mental capacity. So I enjoy it. It's kind of my preference. But yeah, there's some mental gymnastics going on. Just the number of threads that I had parked. Yeah. Maybe I'll insert that picture. I had posted it to my Instagram stories. The threads kind of laid out very prettily, just so that you could see what a full diagonal of those threads look like. I'll insert that here so you can see that. With a lot of colors, a lot of threads parked in there. Oh, I love this. So here's something really kind of cool. This is the chair. This is the top of her throne, the top of her chair that she's sitting in. When I was stitching this section, this section definitely zoomed. I was done with the diamonds and the sparkles underneath them. And since I stitch in my diagonals, I was really zooming here. And I get to the end of it and I'm looking at it and I'm like, what is that paler brown section? That's the top of the chair. So maybe I'll insert the cover photo again and zoom in on that section so that you can see that. And I guess I'll put in the mock-up, because translated to stitching, it is cast so much darker. The color choices available make the picture look a lot darker than the actual painting itself, the actual original artwork. So that's why that's not looking super gold yet, because it's just cast a lot darker. So you can see that I did a lot of feathering and a lot of kind of cross country a little bit. I'm not one to go full cross country, but there was so much confetti in here and so many colors that if I've got it on my needle and it occurs 3 or 4 times over here, then I just throw it in there. Make my life a little easier when I come back to this page. So this little stitch right here, this random little stitch floating out here, like right there is her temple. It's her temple. It's the side of her face. That's so cool to me. Like her face is like right here. I mean, it's right here. So that begins the conversation of the next time that I work on this, and it may not be this year, but the next time that I work on this, what do I do? So while I was working on it, I was thinking I was going to go right ahead on over to page 3, even though my standard is to come down here and work page 7 and to do my diagonal pages. I'm directionally confused. Anyway, to do my diagonal pages. And so I thought about breaking that and instead coming over here to do page 3 so that I could get to the top of her head and the side of her face. I thought that would be really fun, rather than another page of diamonds. But here's what I have decided. I have decided that I am the next time that I work on this, I'm probably gonna come down here and do page 7, because the dress is stunning blocks of yellow. Just big swaths of color, big blocks of color. And I'm not going to want to stitch 6 pages across of that. I'm going to need to break it up And so that's really the benefit of doing the pages in the diagonal, is that you can break up those more monotonous sections or those more difficult sections. So for instance, when I get down here to one of these dress pages, then I'll have to come back to the top and work more of the confetti pages, one of the pages with diamonds in it, what have you, something more complex to just try to break up some of the dress, because the dress is going to be gorgeous and I can't wait to see it come to life. And I'm also like, I'm not so sure how much fun it's going to be to stitch. So anyway, so there's that. So the conversation next is about when is the next time I'm going to work on this. Because it was on my full coverage whip go board just the 2 times to get this page finished, I'm technically done with this for the year. And I don't like saying that. I mean, I really don't love that for me. That's not great to say out loud. I don't really want to be done with this yet. However, I now have 17 full coverage pieces. And they all deserve some time in the limelight. They all deserve this kind of effort, right? So, at the current moment, I don't have any specific plans for this to come out. Now, there is the Full Coverage Fanatics Summer Olympics event that will come up in the summertime, around the, you guessed it, Olympics. And so maybe I will need this piece to do the Summer Olympics challenge. I haven't decided what I'm going to do for that, or what that even is going to look like. Nobody knows what that's going to look like except for Kim and Anne. But maybe I need this piece for that, and so maybe I will get back to it for that purpose. But otherwise, I don't have any explicit plans to work on this again this year. Now, I think I have decided that once I finish Personal Sunshine, this is going to become my next focus full coverage piece, because I'd really like to have this done and maybe even framed before my husband and I's 10th wedding anniversary, which is in 2026, which is not a whole lot of time. There's not a whole lot of time between now and June of 2026. I know it sounds like, I mean, I've got a 2-year plan here, but it's not a whole lot of time. So I think that we're going to be seeing this piece a lot in 2025. Yeah, I think we're going to see this one a lot. So that is Avarice, and I love it, and I'm so excited for the page finish. That just feels so cool. After Avarice, I had just a few more projects left to get to before the end of the month, but we were rapidly approaching the end of the month. And so I pulled out a piece that I thought I could get the gold on fairly quickly. And that lives in this super cute project bag. This is a stitch and button bag. And in here lives my summer sampler by the Cooler Design Studio. It's officially designed by Sandy Orton. And so this is what this will look like finished. This is a printout of the PDF that I have. Except for backstitch, I am working this in Pattern Keeper because it does go into Pattern Keeper, which just makes the cross stitch just that much more enjoyable and that much more fun. So, yeah, I love these in Pattern Keeper. Super fun. So this is one of my small monthly goal pieces. This is a piece that I work on every single month for a small monthly goal. And this one in particular is extra small. I don't love how small I set this goal at. I'm not going to change it, but it's definitely informing some plans for the future. I think that my larger goals, if I'm going to continue this small monthly goal thing, my larger goals are going to have to go to my favorite projects, because this one, it makes me sad. My goal is just 300 stitches. And that feels like almost nothing. So this is on a 32 count cream Belfast linen from Zweigart. I love this. Okay, so My small monthly goal in February was I was continuing work on this camp sign. I think I probably have through April with this camp sign. I think I'm still going to be working on this. There's a few hundred stitches left. And this time I focused on this little picture on the camp sign. You can see the mountain in the background, the trees in the foreground. This here is a little cabin. So cute. Oh my goodness, this is so much fun to stitch. 300 stitches on this piece feels like nothing. It goes fairly quickly and then I'm done. And I don't love that. I really don't. I really wanted to keep going, but with February being as short as it is, I had to stick to the goal and pretty much not much further. I had talked about when I was giving this piece its full day, that the plan was to get my 300 stitches in the cross stitch and then to spend the rest of the day working on back stitch. But I didn't have time to do that this month. And I don't know if that's going to be a feasibility. This year may just be my 300 cross stitches and that's about it each month. And I've just got to be okay with that. I've just got to be okay with it. So that is Summer Sampler. I love this piece. I love it so much. And now it's March, so I can go put this on the frame for my itty bitty little rotation. So there's Summer Sampler. After Summer Sampler, I spun my decision wheel again and it pulled another small monthly goal. This time it was Secret Stitch. So I worked on Secret Stitch on Friday night and Saturday. And I ended up staying up way super late that Friday night. I was hanging out with virtual stitchers. And so I got my goal on Secret Stitch done on Saturday. So that was pretty cool. So Saturday evening, I pulled out my last Whipco piece after spinning the decision wheel again. And so my last Whipco piece for February was from my Finish It Whipco board. And that lives in this project bag here. This is by Nicole's Needlework. I love this bag so very much. It is so fun and I love the orientation of it. It's more portrait style rather than landscape like most of my bags. And in here lives my Jane Walker circa 1800 from the Scarlet Letter. So that is what this adorable little sampler will look like finished. This one really is not very big. It's 164 by 224 and I had a blast working on this. The goal is full coverage this year. It's the focus. It's gonna make me sound like a broken record all year long. But this was great. I don't know if I was just in the mood for reproduction sampler stitching or if I just wanted a break. I don't know what it was, but I thoroughly enjoyed working on this to the point that I may consider trying to make it a monthly piece to see the finish by the end of the year. So we'll see. So this is a piece on my Finish It Whipco board that I did not have any expectations of finishing. Of the things that I have started in September, this is my closest to done, and I think it saw 2 days last year. So very much not close to finished, but my closest of my September starts. So that's how it made it to my Finish It Whipco board. I probably should rebrand that as my, non-full coverage board. My goal on that board is either the finish or 1,500 stitches at the very least, because that's my minimum goal for all of my non-full coverage pieces this year. So this one I walked into it knowing that 1,500 was going to be the goal. Okay, enough showing you that. Let me show you the stitching. So this is on a 40 count Newcastle linen in travertine by Color and Cotton. It was a fabric of the month. And this calls for, I think, 6 or 7 DMC. It's really not a huge color palette, but it's stunning. It is stunning. And I just had the most fun stitching this. I really did. I really, 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 really enjoyed this. So the way that this is charted, the pages are blown up so that the symbols are huge, and so the pages are not huge. I think that the first page cut off somewhere in here, and then like a few rows into this super illuminated alphabet. So the pages are really not very big as far as stitch count is concerned, but they are really, really visible, which is great. It makes it really easy to stitch. And so I decided to work this top to bottom, page by page, kind of, sort of. There is some definite kind of bleed over into the neighboring pages with the thread on my needle. And so I got down here and I stitched the illuminated A, and oh my goodness, that was so much fun. That was so much fun. It was the whole reason that I wanted to stitch this sampler. And I'm just super, super enjoying that. But I am forcing myself to go in this page by page order and to start at the top and work my way down, because if I let myself do what I want to, I'm going to stitch this whole illuminated alphabet, and then this project is going to sit forever because I'm going to stitch the fun parts too fast. So I'm pacing myself. I am encouraging myself to pace and to slow down a little bit. But I love this. I mean, I'm just having an absolute ball with it. I love these little swirlies. It wants me to use a double running stitch to do that, but in some test stitching up here, I didn't notice any difference between just a regular back stitch versus doing the double running stitch. And the double running stitch requires a lot more brain, so I'm just doing a back stitch. It means that my piece is not as reversible, but that's okay. I'm not worried about that. Yeah, I love this. I really, really enjoyed it. So I am contemplating maybe trying to do a page a month. As I said, the pages are not super big. So we'll see. We'll see if that actually happens. If I find the time here in March to work on this again, then I may just do that. I may just go ahead and do that and see where I get to. Maybe I could set up for a sampler September finish. That would be really cool. So we'll see. So that is Jane Walker, and that was my last WIPGO goal accomplished for February. So I finished up that rotation on Monday evening. And on Tuesday, Baby Does Stuff and I went up to my mom's. She lives about an hour-ish away in Northern Virginia. And so we went up to my mom's house because my Aunt Hallie and her daughter, my cousin, were coming to spend spring break with us here in Virginia. But we wanted a chance to get to hang out with them while they're here. They live in Michigan, and so, yeah. So just decided to spend a couple days with them, and that was really, really great. There was no stitching, but that's okay because we were spending time with family. On Wednesday, we went to the Luray Caverns. I have lived in Virginia for almost 18 years, and that was my first time to the Luray Caverns. And it was so breathtakingly cool. It was so much fun. I just had an absolute blast in there. Baby Does Stuff enjoyed it. She had a lot of fun walking through there with us. It's really, really cool. If you ever find yourself in that area, the Luray Caverns is great. It's super fun. It used to be covered in steps. There used to be stairs that you had to take, and now it is all paved and it is all smooth. there is some uphill and some downhill, and as you're wending your way through these caves and through these caverns, but it's now wheelchair accessible, and it was great. It was so much fun. We had a blast looking at all of the cool rocks, and I think my favorite part was the reflecting pools. It's impossible to fathom just how pristine that reflection is. Very, very cool. So, like I said, no stitching for those couple of days. So yesterday, I was supposed to start Sunflower House by Blackbird Designs. And I'm going to be real honest with you. At the beginning of the week, I knew I wasn't going to be starting that yesterday. I am not in the mood for new starts. I'm not sure what's causing that. Be it I'm just enjoying the progress that I'm getting on my whips, or it could be influenced by some of the FlossTube that I'm watching, just seeing some folks not really pay attention to the new starts. I'm not exactly sure what is causing it, but nonetheless, I'm not in the mood for new starts right now. And so I knew that yesterday I wasn't going to be ready to start Sunflower House. Also, I don't have the fabric that I need for the vision of that piece that I have in my head. I want to do that on a denim-y blue a la Stratus by Color and Cotton, and I just don't have that in my stash currently. So that was another roadblock for me for sure. So I get home yesterday, and I have one official goal left. And so I decided to work on that instead of a Leap Day New Start, instead of Leap Day Unicorn Start. I'm really bad at marketing the sales that I want to do, and it's a good thing since I bail on them before they even really get going. So that my last goal for the month of February lives in this project bag. This is by Christine of Stitch All the Things. And in here lives my Touching the Autumn Sky. So this is an out-of-print Mirabilia. I have this on loan from a friend, and I am working on this for at least 500 stitches a month to see this. I don't think that that's going to see it finished by the end of the year, but maybe I'll make the push to get it finished by the end of the year anyway, because that would be really cool. So that is my Touching the Autumn Sky. Like I said, goal of 500 stitches a month. And yesterday, it took some effort because I was exhausted. But yesterday I got the 500 stitches exactly, like on the dot, 500 stitches. So that was great. It's still on the frame because why not? We're in March, so it's reset. And so I thought I might try to get this goal done first thing while it's on the frame. My fabric for this is a 32 count Belfast linen in Moana by Fabrics by Stephanie. And here is where I am up to now. Forgive all the parked threads because, you know, the madness to my method. Just move some of those out of the way. So yeah, so here's where I'm up to. I was working on the jacket this time. I thought about going up and stitching her hair, but I have decided to do a hair conversion to a dirty blonde since this was yesterday and I had 6 or 7 hours to get the goal accomplished. I decided not to work on that color conversion yet, but I'm going to try to work on that this month and have that ready to go for April. So for February and for March here, I'm focusing on the jacket. I've done about 100 stitches towards my March goal, so this I'm going to get some more work into today. But my 500 stitches yesterday was the sleeve of her jacket, the cuffs, and some of the shadow in here. So yeah, so that's where I'm up to with Touching the Autumn Sky. I absolutely adore this piece. It is fun to stitch Mirabilia. I mean, really, it's fun. This is different stitching than sampler stitching, and it's different than full coverage stitching, and it's a lot of fun to stitch. I really enjoy it. And I am so pleased to be finally making some traction on this piece because it sat in limbo for so long. So yeah, so that is Touching the Autumn Sky. As I mentioned, that is the piece that I am currently working on. And that's what I'm going to work on. I think I'll probably get my goal accomplished today/tonight, but we'll just kind of cross that bridge when we get there. Cross that stitch when we get there. So that is everything. So that's going to bring us to some February statistics, because that was the last thing I worked on in February. So buckle up. If you enjoyed my January statistics, this is going to sound a little bit familiar. I had another record breaker of a month. February is never this good to me. Between it being a short month and the January is typically like one of my best stitching months of the year, and so things start to taper off in February. And this month was just another banner month for me. So at the beginning of February, I had 92 works in progress. I had 2 new starts over the course of the month. The first was May Quaker by From the Heart Needle Art by Wendy, and the second was Cherry Blossom Breezes by Heaven and Earth Designs, for the Year of the Dragon Sow. So those were my 2 new starts, and I had one official finish in February, and that was The Swans by Cottage Garden Samplings. So that was pretty cool. So I am coming into March with 93 works in progress. Following January, with my whip count very slowly trending down, I think that is also a part of the reason I haven't been feeling the new starts lately. I want to see that number come down a little bit, because 93 is a lot. So as I said, February is another banner month. 22,312 stitches over the course of the month. 22,000 stitches in February, I don't even understand it. I don't understand it myself. I checked those numbers so many times because I can't, I know I did a lot of stitching, but I can't reason myself into that number. Like, I can't logically, that doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up, even though the maths correctly. So anyway, so that's the number. I stitched 27 of 29 days, so 2 0-stitch days this month, which is pretty good. I could have stitched, but I just chose to just be in the moment rather than go upstairs and grab my stitching while we were at my mom's. So that's totally cool. If you disclude those 0-stitch days from the average here, it would be an average of 826 stitches, meaning that of the days that I stitched, I averaged 826 stitches. If you include those 0-stitch days, the average is 779. So 779 stitches was my per day average over the course of February, which is bananas. Really, that's a lot. It's not sustainable. I said that at the end of January, and it shouldn't be sustainable. The only thing that I can think is that I've just been leaning very hard into the stitching. So those 22,000 stitches was spread out over 11 unique projects. So I worked on 11 unique projects in February, which is pretty good. I'd like to get that down to 6 or 7 because, like I've said, I like longer rotations. 6 or 7 is never going to be achievable with the way that my plan is for this year. I'm going to be hanging out around 10 or 11, but last year I was hanging out around 14 or 15, and that's too much. That's too many projects for me in 1 month. So let's get to the full coverage statistics, the full coverage portion of that. I worked on 5 full coverage pieces in February. So that was Personal Sunshine, Avarice, Haunted House, Cherry Blossom Breezes, and Secret Stitch. So those were my 5 full coverage pieces in February. 5 full coverage pieces in February. That's a lot of Fs. Um, so, 2 of those were bonuses, and so that's pretty great. Of the 22,000 and some odd stitches that I did, 15,782 of those stitches were from full coverage pieces. I really put the emphasis on full coverage in February, which is great because full coverage February. And so that maths to roughly 71% of my stitches came to full coverage pieces. So that's pretty good. That I like that. I like that the numbers are showing the goal. It's working out as I want it to. I want the focus to be on full coverage, and that's what we're doing. And then I did 21 days on full coverage pieces. So if I worked on a full coverage piece on a day, then it goes into this tally. So 21 of the 27 days that I stitched in February were full coverage. So of the days that I actually stitched, that's roughly 78%. Of the days of the month, that's roughly 72%. So I spent 72% of the month on full coverage. I like it. I like that a lot. I meant to get my numbers from January to add them together, but I don't have that at hand. So maybe I'll put that here on the bottom of the screen. My sum total days spent on full coverage so far, and my sum total stitches done on full coverage so far. So we can keep track of that. I really wish that I had pulled that. Maybe I need to have this in a notebook rather than just some loose leaf. Anyway, so those are the statistics for the month of February, and you will have seen here a scroll of the stopping places for all of the pieces that I worked on in February, except for Secret Stitch, of course. All right, so let's get into March. Let's talk about some March plans. I've got my typical things. Personal Sunshine will come out for its 5,500 stitches, and I'm going to be starting a new page for that, so that's very exciting. I have my 5 small monthly goal pieces: Touching the Autumn Sky, Summer Sampler, Secret Stitch, Ragnarok by Long Dog Samplers, which I'm really looking forward to getting back to, and May Quaker by From the Hard Needle Art by Wendy, which I am going to be taking with me on a trip, and I'm hoping that I can finish it over the course of that trip. I think that would be great. So those are the things that are kind of month to month I'm going to be working on. Next, let's get into WIPGO. So we did our WIPGO draws on the 25th. I did them kind of late afternoon, early evening on the 24th, but they went live on the 25th. And so these are the projects that I have that came up for WIPGO in March, and I'm so excited because I got some good variety. I got some good variety, and that just makes me happy. So we're going to do the non-full coverage first because that's the way they are stacked here. So the first lives in this project bag. This, I think, is by the Pineapple House. And in here lives my Dumbo. So this is Dumbo by Mandarinks Designs. And this is a piece that I think I'm going to try to finish in the month of March. I think that would be great. So let me show you my starting point. This has a lot of parked threads. This is on a 32 count Belfast linen in Florin by Under the Sea Fabrics. It's bubblegum pink with some bits of yellow. I thought that it worked nicely with this piece that's kind of got those same shades in the background. I love this. I'm so excited to work on this again. I was really geeked when I pulled the numbers and I worked on the video and the post for Facebook and the post for Instagram, and then I went to my WIPGO board to see, and I was geeked. I was really, really geeked to see that this was one of them. So yeah, this is one I think I can finish. I still have quite a bit of work to do yet, but I find that I get into a really good groove when I work on this piece. So a few days. Although I do have a big backstitch task ahead of me. So we'll see. Mandarinks Designs is on Etsy, and so I'll be sure to link their Etsy shop in the description box for you if you are looking for this or something like it. Yeah, I love this piece. My other Finish It whipco board, or non-full coverage whipco board, as I think we talked about rebranding it, lives in this beautiful project bag. This is another stitch and button bag. And in here lives another favorite piece that I was super excited came up for this month. This is My Day Complete by Kathy Barrick. So this is a printout of the PDF that I got from Kathy's Etsy page. This does go into Pattern Keeper. So, you know, keep that in mind. Bear that in mind. There is a tiny bit of backstitch up here. Let me move my adorable, gigantic needle minder. There is some backstitch up here in some of these leaves that doesn't translate into Pattern Keeper, but nonetheless, mostly PK compatible. I started this for Colette the Highway Stitcher's birthday a couple of years ago, and yeah, I'm geeked to get to work on this. I am not as far on this as I thought I was. I don't think I'm halfway yet. So this is not going to be a finish this month, but nonetheless, I'm going to give it at least its 1,500 stitches and see where that gets me. But I have a lot of work left to do on this piece. So let me show you. Rather than chatter on and on about it. This is on 40 count Newcastle in Eggnog by Color and Cotton. Yeah, I've got a lot to do yet on this piece. Gosh, both of these pieces I left way too much on the side margins. Anyway, I mean, I've got a good portion of the bird done, but yeah, there's a lot left to do here. So this one is not going to be finished in March, but maybe later on in the year. Okay, so let's get to the full coverage whipco board. And I was excited about these coming up, but with one caveat that we'll discuss here in a minute. So the first one lives in this super cool project bag. This is by the Brass Button. Super, super cool. And in here lives my Ravenkin. When I last filmed this, HAED was getting ready to, but they hadn't quite yet retired this artist. This last Monday, they retired like 15 artists. And so unfortunately, this is now out of print. It's retired. It's no longer, you can't get this one. But this is Ravenkin by Selina Fenech. You know what? Actually, I'm going to insert a preview here of what this will look like finished, because this is a really bad color representation of what it will look like. And here is my starting point. So this one, I am just going for the half page, and then I will get the other half of the page later on in the year. So this is 25 count easy grid Lugana, 1/1 full cross. Called for DMC anchor black instead of DMC 310, like most of my full coverage pieces. And like most of my full coverage pieces, the coverage looks better in person. So anyway, this page is going to be mostly kind of boring, but also interesting because I will get the silhouette of one of the ravens. One of the big silhouettes is going to be on this page too. So I am looking forward to getting into that. And then I'll get the page finished later on in the year. And then my last full coverage whipco piece lives in this project bag. This was made by Dawn Marie of DM's Crafty Vortex. And she made me this bag. This bag is fabulous for full coverage because it's big and it's got double pockets and it's great. And in here lives my Magic Study. Magic Study is by Rose Kahn, who was also retired earlier this week. This was a limited edition from 2020, and so this hasn't been available for several years. But they did have a rainbow version, but it's all been retired now, so that's probably moot. This is on a Q-snap, and it's going to stay on a Q-snap. I'm not going to take it off the Q-snap, but I have page 1 done here. You can see that side of it, and then I have 1,000 stitches into page 2. Again, the goal for this is a half page. So, here's the thing with full coverage. You'll have seen a preview of what this will look like finished. 1/1 full cross on 25 count, DMC, except for anchor black. So here's the thing. I would really like to get at least one page finished every month. The goal is 24 pages by the end of the year. So that technically should average out to 2 pages a month. However, I knew that it was going to be end of the year heavier on the page finishes because of the way that I have my full coverage whipco board being mostly half pages. So I knew that it was going to be more back end heavy on the page finishes. But I would still like to get at least a page finish every month. With both of my full coverage whipco pieces being half page goals, obviously it's not going to happen there. Personal Sunshine, I am starting a new page, and 5,500 stitches won't get me to the page finish. Secret Stitch is not. It's not only 1,000 stitches away from a page finish. So I think I'm going to push for the page finish on Personal Sunshine. It means that I'm going to be ahead of my monthly goal, but that's okay. Like, that's not a huge loss. If I get ahead on that goal, that's not a big deal. So I think I'm going to do that extra 1,800 stitches, try to anyway, this month to get that page finished, so that I can maybe see how long I can go with a page finish every month. I know that Mika from Darling Bluebell is like a couple of years. She's had a page finish every month, and that's goals. That's admirable, and that's something that I would like to strive for as well. So I thought about making it this one, but that's an extra 3,000 stitches, and that's a lot. That's a lot of extra stitches. So so this one will get its page finished this year. It's just a matter of when that will be. So that is it for the stitchy plans for March. I am in the mood for some finishes, and so like I said, I'm hoping to finish May Quaker and Dumbo. I may also pull out my Heart in Hand 2023 Collector's Heart, because I think that would be a fairly quick finish if I could spend maybe some regular time on it, maybe put in a little bit each week and get that done. I'm in the mood for finishes. So I'm going to continue that as long as it lasts. Page finishes and that kind of thing. No plans for any new starts this month, but I mean, who knows? Maybe something will pop up. We'll see. So let's switch gears, and we're going to talk about books very briefly. We're just going to talk about my a quick recap of what I read in February and my TBR for the month of March. If you are not here for the books, then I will see you in the next one. If you are, settle in. This shouldn't take too long. So in the month of February, I read 4 books officially. 3 of them were very short audiobooks for the Fandom Stitching Central group. And so I listened to 101 Dalmatians by Dodie Smith. I listened to that, or Dottie maybe, on YouTube, actually. Somebody had read it on YouTube, and that was pretty good. I listened to Peter Pan by J.M. Barrie, and Alice's Adventure in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. Those 2, Peter Pan and Alice, I got from the Libby app. I finally got my Libby app working, and so I listened to those through there. And so I enjoyed reading the classics. I did enjoy reading the classics. However, it meant that my listening time was devoted to things that are not on my primary TBR. And I'm not going to do that going forward. Like, I'm not going to continue that path. It was fun to read those, and I do like the comparing and contrasting with the Disney adaptations, and with what my knowledge base is on those various classic stories, but I don't think I'm going to be doing that moving forward. I am way behind on my bookish whipco, and so yeah, I'm just not going to be continuing with that. The other book that I read in February was The Assassin's Blade by Sarah J. Maas. So this is from the Throne of Glass series. This is actually a collection of 5 novellas that are prequels to the Throne of Glass series. So everything in here takes place before the events of Throne of Glass and the subsequent series. And so it gives you backstory into Selina and how she became who she is in the Throne of Glass series. And I, for the most part, enjoyed this. Some of the novellas were stronger than others. They are all interconnected. They are all interwoven. They all kind of follow a timeline. So you shouldn't read them out of order. You can pick and choose. Like if you only want to read one of them, then you can just read that one separately. But all of them give continual context. They all reference each other. Obviously, one of the later ones references some of the earlier stories, what have you. But they each have their own plot build, climax, and resolution, independent of each other, even though the timeline continues. I hope I'm explaining that correctly in a way that makes any kind of sense. I read it all cover to cover, straight through. And yeah, some of them were really, really good. And some of them were not perhaps as strong to me. This is definitely earlier in Sarah's career. She's pretty prolific and pretty popular right now. And this is definitely early. This is young adult fantasy. And this series started at a time when the focus of young adult speculative fiction was dystopia. Hunger Games, Divergent, Under the Never Sky. I'm trying to think of what else I read back then. Pandemonium by Lauren Oliver. That was kind of, it was dystopia was the big focus. And Throne of Glass was a little bit of a groundbreaker because it was fantasy, like epic fantasy, like classic fantasy kind of tropes and things going on in magic systems and what have you. So it was a little bit groundbreaking, but it was definitely early in Sarah's career, and so it was some young adult writing, but nonetheless enjoyable. Definitely great escapism, and yeah, so I had fun with this. Okay, so let's get into Bookish Whipco. So I didn't read either of my February books. I am still in the midst of my second book for January, and we've got 2 more. And for March, we got a couple of chunky books. So let me really quickly show you the books that came up for March Bookish Whipco. The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt. Don't let this fool you. This is nearly 800 pages. This is a big book. The pages are thin, and yeah. So this is The Goldfinch. This was turned into a movie. My brother has read this and recommended it. It's a Pulitzer Prize winner. I am very much looking forward to getting into this and seeing what all the fuss is about. So yeah, I'm excited about this. But I'm even more excited about this one. So this is Leviathan Wakes by James S.A. Corey. Every year for Christmas Eve, Baby Does Stuff and I each get a book. My husband gets a small board game. And this was the book that I chose for myself for Christmas Eve. I have wanted to read this for so long. This is space opera. So think thrillers in space with drama and excitement and edge of your seat kind of thing. I am so geeked for this. I have wanted to read this for years. This is the 10th anniversary edition, and it has hot pink sprayed edges. This is just so cool. I'm really geeked to get into this. James S.A. Corey is the pseudonym for 2 authors. They have collaborated on the Expanse series, which has now been turned into a TV show. I have wanted to read this, like I think I've said this several times, but I've wanted to read this for a long time. And James S.A. Corey, the collaborative effort there, have a new series that's starting up this year that I want to get into as well. But I gotta start with The Expanse. I have heard that some later books in this series get a little bit formulaic, they get a little bit boring, you get a little bit bogged down by extra characters, but I'm looking forward to getting started. So that's coming here this month as well. I have a ton of books on my TBR. I have past Bookish Whipco and current Bookish Whipco, and I have my Throne of Glass read through that I'm working on. I doubt I'm going to get to all of it this month, but it's fun to set an ambitious TBR. And so that's the plan there. I have decided that I'm going to break up the Goldfinch and read roughly 25 pages a day, and that will see that finished by the end of the month. So that's going to be the plan for the Goldfinch, just to try to get that accomplished, because that's a behemoth. That's a big book. So that's the plan there. And so those are the books that I have coming up for the month of March. So I am going to head off here. I'm going to get this edited and uploaded for you all, and for real, I'm going to get it posted this time. I hope. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you for your continued support of me and my channel. I so appreciate you. I so appreciate you being here. So yeah, happy stitching, everybody. Stay healthy. As always, be kind, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.